on this other platform. Okay. And it looks like we are. Maybe. Maybe. There we go. There we go. There we go. Going live is so much harder than what I thought it would be. I'm looking at my sound. It looks good to my video. That looks good. It is August 11th, y'all. It's going to be a good day because we're going to talk about the entrepreneur's guide to marketing delegation. So I just want to make sure that everything looks good before I start because sometimes it'd be acting up in the middle. Or the worst case scenario is, which I have been doing, I've been doing it on a webcam, on my webcam, but then I don't do it through this app that I use. It's called Riverside that I do for my podcast. And um, at least I know I'm going to capture on Riverside because the last live I did, it just ended. And man, I was upset because I was like, man, here's the last steps. But, if you look at the show notes or the description, I'll put it in there for the most part. But with this episode, I'm going to give you all a blog article. And so let me just go ahead and put that in the notes now. So for those that want to follow me and learn more, then here, go to this website here, and you're going to be able to see. And hold on, let me put it in here. Here you go. You're going to be able to go and check out the articles. And again, I haven't published the article yet, but I'm going to, as we're going to get into why this is a meaty, like big portion size topic we're about to go into. It's the entrepreneur's guide to marketing delegation. And I'm looking over my notes right here. So you can say, why keep you looking away? It's because my notes are right here. I'm going off of the article that I wrote. I haven't published it yet, but when you go to it, it should be published by the end of the day, if not early tomorrow. And I want to talk about this because we're talking about the creator economy. Because at one point in time, it was the gig economy. Now we're talking about the creator economy. And so I'm going to say this creator economy is blowing up, but let me not get too far ahead of myself. So for those that want to know, like, what's this about, this is about the creator economy is exploded to $250 billion, and in the next 10 years they are projecting by 2034 it's going to go to 1.49 trillion. So that is more than double, more than triple, more than quadruple according to the industry research, because it's just the way we have shifted to our marketing. Now that we all have one of these things, it's a big deal. It's no more of the old school where we're going to do this mass marketing appeal. It's not going to happen that way. Even my own leaders in the marketing space, which I love them. You got Gary Vee, Amy Porterfield, and Neil Patel. They all been doing this so much longer than I have been an entrepreneur. And the way they're moving are as in they are creators, they are a content creator, they are influencers. And it's interesting to watch this evolve because at one point in time we were in the background. Now we're moving to the forefront. Now I say we as I'm a marketer, but I am not at their level yet, but I'll get there because they handle millions of dollars of ad spend. That's where I'm not at. And I'm okay with that because I'm still learning. There's a lot to this game. And so that's why I want to talk about how you delegate marketing, because as entrepreneurs, there's so much similarities to that. And I get it. But here's where the shift is going to happen. And it's going to unfortunately leave some people behind. And let me start with the gig economy, because the gig economy was started when you had musicians, Uber drivers, Door Dashers, Grubhubbers, Postmates. They were like, this is the gig economy, and that was pre-pandemic. But the gig economy is really more about the freelancers. The creator economy is focused on the relational, audience focused, user generated content to where they're creating companies. And so, where entrepreneurs struggle with marketing delegation is that we as entrepreneurs have this within our DNA that we have to solve this problem. And we are going to solve this problem because we've gotten so far by doing what we know what to do, and sometimes that's trusting our gut. That's sometimes going with our intuition. Sometimes just taking a risk. Sometimes just leaping off the building, and we'll make an airplane on our way down. But this is where we as entrepreneurs can get in trouble. But this is where there's a hidden cost of when we do it ourselves, the DIY of marketing, where you're spending like in this now, because I'm going to say this, let's make this very tangible. We have all these platforms called social media, and you can spend 20 hours a week just on one platform. You can spend 2 to 3 hours creating content, which is you could be creating a post, and then it doesn't matter if you use AI makes it a lot easier, but you still got to go inside the app, you got to format it, and then you got to follow up with it and manage it after you executed it. But you still got to execute the engagement and also engage with others. 20 hours a week on one platform is easy to do. That's something as a leader in the organization you just don't have time for. We always laugh in our world as entrepreneurs, freelancers, you can say that, right? When somebody says, here's a job description of a marketing manager, and it has all these tasks for you to do with all these roles, and it's like, that's unrealistic. That's different people. And so it doesn't matter if you're a freelancer or building a business, the best use of your time is not for you to miss out, not for you to, you hear me, not to miss out on paying bills, which means you're going to have to delegate this at some point or another. If you look at Gary Vee's team and Neil Patel's team, they have hundreds of people working for them now. And that's why I'm like, I'm not, that's why I said I'm not them. I make that very clear. I'm not them. And so for those that have any questions, please feel free to jump in and put it in the chat, because I want to be able to answer those questions, because this is a big topic that we're moving into. Because in the next 10 years, if you are interested in becoming a marketer, this is where, and let's just say a marketer doesn't have to be where you're a manager, you're a fractional CMO like myself. You can be a designer, you can be a copywriter, you can be a videographer, a photographer. It doesn't have to be one size fits all. You're doing everything, because maybe you're great at ads, or maybe you're great at creating copy, maybe you're great at writing. Copy and writing are the same things, but there's different styles to technical writing. You could be really good at PR or videography, photography. You can decide which area you want to go into, and that means we come all together and collaborate if you want to work as a freelancer. But as you are moving into this new era of the creator economy, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you. And so that's where I wanted to get into, because according to the MB agency of 2025 research, they say brand deals are becoming the biggest income source used by the creators. And a lot of it is coming from TikTok. TikTok pays the most, and I'm learning the algorithm myself. But this is where you're going to have the opportunity to understand where this new money, where this new economy is coming from. And it's because it's the creator economy. So let's get into the entrepreneur's marketing delegation framework. That's what I'm titling it. And there are altogether 3 steps that I want you to know. And this is where it's going to be easier just to follow the article again. When you go to the website at endubbrand.com/articles, you'll see it. But I want to get into the 3 steps when you are delegating. And number one is to identify to delegate. And so when you want to identify what to delegate, there's going to be stuff you keep and stuff to delegate. When I was looking around, according to Delegate, when I was doing some research for this, it was from Delegate Solutions, where I found where they use the 80/20 rule. And I was like, that's interesting. They say 80% of the work is administrative, which is true. As a fractional CMO, when I go into different companies and when I work with my clients still want to have a hand on what goes out. They want to have a hand in what's created. They want to have a hand in how it's executed and how it's managed. Obviously, it's their baby, and I'm just helping them with the strategy to ensure that it's going to be what it's going to be, right? So when it comes to what that looks like. How do we identify what to delegate and what to keep? So this is one of the things that I'm going to say is you're always going to be able. You always want to be able to understand your brand positioning. So that means you're keeping what is that brand positioning, and that is your messaging. And so from there, you also want to be able to manage the partnerships that you handle and anything that's budget related to like crisis management. Those are all things that you're going to hold on to make sure that from your messaging to an emergency, you always want to have a handle on that. And so everything else is the things you delegate. So that is content creation, SEO, marketing campaigns, like you creating. So in the marketing campaign, you can set up, you can delegate the triggers, but this is where you come back to where you're administrating, managing the trigger responses as what it looks like, what it should be, what it's saying, how you are responding to, like I said, uh, the launch of it to the crisis of it. And there's more like performance tracking that can be delegated as well, but when the reports are given out, this is how you pivot because you're making an evaluation of what's good, what's working, what's not working. And of course there's going to be a lot of failures, but how do you learn from those failures? Which leads to number two. You want to be able to find the right type of marketing. When I was a kid up to like my mid 20s, I was a soccer player, but I was when I played soccer, I was a goalkeeper. And anytime I played pickup soccer, which I was pretty good, I wasn't great. Obviously I didn't play in the pros. I had a tryout for a pro team, but I didn't play in the pros. And as a goalkeeper, I would only be able to fit with one style of team. And that's just a marketer. It's no difference. It's just like with anything else, anyone else, every other team, you're going to fit with the best people that are going to work with you, that vibe with you. So when it comes to marketing, you want to do you're going to want to do the same thing. And this is one of the administrative tasks as a business owner, as an entrepreneur that you're going to do. And in this new creator economy, you're going to have to leverage it for business growth because Forbes said right now, creative and content roles account for 20% of gig economy jobs. And that's the writing, designing. And that's going to be moving to more of what this content, which is how to manage these apps. How do you manage keep creating the content to where you can do all these special effects, right? Because there's still a little bit of a team that it requires, because you doing it on your own is a lot, which means you probably want to look at some assistance to help you with the social media management for the different platforms. Facebook is going to operate different than TikTok, TikTok to Instagram, Instagram to what's not WhatsApp is even a app that you can use to even I'm blanking on it, but the one the oh shoot, Snapchat. That's what I was looking at. And there's a business side to it when you start running ads, because you can get into platforms where it's like with Google, or Facebook. There's another side to it where you're just managing the ad spend and learning the reports, and this is where the performance tracking comes in at. And you want to be able to understand what's working really fast with your team, as fast as you can, to figure out what is working, because there's a lot of stuff that's not working. And this is where the fractional marketing folks come in at, because you want to be able to manage your campaigns and any output that you're putting in. So that input that you're going to receive to create that dashboard of success is going to work on your behalf. So this is where it does get a little kind of wonky, where you be like, I have no idea, Nathan, of what you're talking about. So you want to build your team slowly, as in, say, getting someone to help you write copy. And I get it, you can get AI to do that. You might want to get someone to help you create visual aids, visual effects, visual, as in video. Uh, it could be cartoon images to just plain basic images, or just photography, which you can do it on your phone, right? You have the technology to take great high def 4K, 8K quality videos to photos to stills, but then you have to put it out there in a way that you won't get shadow banned, to where you not about going viral, but you will get the level of exposure that you're looking for. And it's not about likes. You want to be able to engage with your audience so that they can begin to, as I've always said, know, like, and trust you. And that's where those marketing specialists is going to help you at, because when you get those marketing assistants, not the specialists, the assistants that help you put out the content, you want the specialists to say, as we're overseeing it, this is what's working and this is what's not working. So this is how you should start. And this is step 3. You want to be able to, in the very beginning, let's just say we're going to roll out in this creator economy. You say, okay, I'm going to do this. You want to create this process that builds into the system. You want to start small, and this, you can do this for like the first 3 weeks. You can do this in weeks, or you can do this in months, however you feel on how much you want to put out. And maybe there's a question of, I always get this question of, um, how many times, I'm going to put this on the chat here. How many times should I post? Right? That is going to be really up to how you want to engage with your people. We are used to, as I'm someone older, you go to a networking function, you collect some business cards, and then you go home, then you engage with them from an email, then from there, maybe a coffee, lunch. And you may do that another time, 2 more times before you send a proposal, just depending how your funnel is created. But here, when you do it on social media, you might go straight to the DMs, to a phone call, could to be a virtual call, because you can even Facebook video call. You can do that on Snapchat. You can do that on all these almost social media platforms. I don't know if you can do that on TikTok yet, but these are the things to where when you start moving and as you build trust, you might want to be able to post 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. I've heard of people posting 20 to 50 times a day. I'm not going to say that's going to be for you, because that's very hard to sustain. But you want to scale in a very systematical way to where you won't burn yourself out, and you can hang and continue to build your funnel and leads and conversion to where you don't skip a beat on the front end. Because what got you there was putting out that content, but you want to not break that. So in order for you to continue on with that same amount of velocity as you converting people, this is why it's important you do, coming back to, get marketing assistants and you get specialists, which is why you delegate, because now you're going in and fulfilling those orders to those people that you just met online on these platforms. You're fulfilling that need. And of course, it's a lot easier when you have a product. But if it's service based, then you need to make sure you might need to hire some other people to help you with the service based opportunity that you created for that value proposition with those individuals or those businesses. So this is where you got to be very strategic with the delegation and how you go about doing that. And so this is where I don't know what that looks like when it comes to your system of operations, but you do want to create standard operating procedures. And so I will say, and I won't get into that whole piece of it, because this is where the sales to marketing to operations should all be married together. And if you need help with that, I'm more than happy to do that. Hit me up, DM me, you put in the comments, and I got my email there if you want some help, because this is something that does break a lot of people. And I've told you before, I've told a client, and they created a fire because we got them so much business. And that's, we don't want that. That's a great story for me to tell, but that's a horrible feeling to know that you just created a fire. And now how are you going to fix that, deal with the incoming orders, and continue to sustain and grow and scale, that's really hard. I don't want that. So what I want to get into is, if you want to get into that, this is where which is, I'm sorry, let me be clear. If you want to get into executing those tasks on different platforms, this is what's called omni-channel marketing. Now, omni-channel marketing, there's a difference. There's multi-channel and there's omni-channel. Multi-channel is you're putting stuff out on multiple channels. And it's once you get into more than one, it's multiple, right? So that could be website, LinkedIn, and Instagram. You're now doing multi-channels. Omni-channel means your brand messaging, coming back to that 80% administratively, that you hired a marketing specialist as like a fractional CMO to handle all that. They are saying the same thing, but you're not posting the same content. Because TikTok, you got to understand, TikTok is going to be, and let me go to my notes before I don't I know I'm running out of time here because I'm trying to keep this under 30 minutes. With TikTok, they say that when it comes to TikTok, the key thing is keeping up with the trends, because the algorithms are consistently changing on TikTok. So you got it from audio to strategies and the For You page algorithm. They may love you, they may hate you. That's why the shadow banning is such a big deal. YouTube, now YouTube is a funny entity, like, which when this is social media, but it's not social media. It is media. And there are different types of media. The most important media you can have is owned media. Owned media is your website where you can change whatever it is and it will never go down unless you don't pay the bill. But when it gets into social media, once you post it out there, it's theirs. It's their content. So if it goes down and if you haven't saved it, it's gone. So and that's a whole nother conversation, maybe a whole nother video for another time. But when it comes to YouTube, they say you have the opportunity to have the best earnings because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world when it comes to web. So you do have to understand how to produce and create the framework to where people don't just bounce out, because a lot of people that visit these channels are people that are not subscribers. So this is where your SEO has to be really good and you have to have a relationship with folks, which leads me to Instagram. Instagram is not like that. You can have, obviously you're gonna really have your own people because people follow you because you know people like that. That's how it was built upon, when especially when Facebook bought Instagram for back in the day where they got stole that. And that, I mean, as in, it was worth so much what it was. But when it comes to Instagram, it's always been a very visual aesthetic, pleasing way to where you don't have to worry about reading. You just watch and you can just veg out, and it's not that big of a deal. But now that it's being indexed, reels and shopping is becoming a thing. And so if you're gonna create your profile, your avatar on Instagram, you gotta start getting really good at videos, which also requires a team. Say you want to also focus on email. Say, look, Nathan, I want to go not high tech but low tech, and just focus on email marketing, which is still highly effective. You're going to need copywriting skills. You want to set up triggers, which means automation, and start segmenting your people, because not everybody wants the same thing. It may be a holistic approach, but as you segment them, they're going to be in different buckets. And the last thing is going to be SEO and content marketing. Now, this is where I said before, with the copywriting and writing, there are a lot of different technical writing that you are going to want to get into. And there's keywords, there's branding, and branding is not selling. And so when you are putting yourself as like, I'm going to be this expert, your messaging, if you're doing the omni channel marketing, it needs to ensure that you stay focused, right? Now, like for example, you can go to my TikTok and I'm all over the place, but I like just playing around on there. My Instagram is kind of like that, but it's a lot more focused on my business. But you go to my Facebook, I don't really post on there. So when you're doing SEO and content marketing, you have to be focused. It's a marathon on ensuring that you don't go outside the spectrum of what you're focused on. So if you're focused on baking, that's all you should putting out there. Baking. This is not about you doing clothes shopping, which food is always great. So if you are doing video gaming, right? That's all you're doing is streaming your gaming. So I know I'm coming to the end. I'm like, oh, let me hurry up and wrap up. I'm in my last 5 minutes. I just want to get into lastly, real quick, just when it comes to the funnel. Again, when I post this article, you're going to see how I lay this out. I kind of go into it. As you are creating this delegation system for yourself, you want to build your funnel to where, as you're getting awareness, like I have here, and you're getting people's attention, they're going to go through this funnel and they're going to have these touch points. And in these touch points, you want to be able to nurture them because however they found you, they found you. Now, what do you do after they have found you? You want to nurture them, and sometimes you may need to retarget them. But they are now considering you, which is why they say it's a consideration stage, to where they're making the decision. But there's two things that I will say that's really important here is people will say I'm good and they will leave. So this is where you're going to need to retarget, and then there's going to be the ones that you are really close to converting, and then you do convert, you're going to need to retain. And sometimes that is like opposite. It's like when I consult with nonprofits, the messaging you put out to funders is different from the people you serve. Getting money, like potentially thousands, 10,000s, hundreds, millions of dollars, is not the same message that you got to put out to the people in need of your services. So when you are doing the retention, this is about building a community, helping folks to understand that you can still provide that value, coming back to the operations, setting up the standard operating procedures, the SOPs. I learned that when I was in the Marine Corps. Man, SOPs, 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 because this is where you build that loyalty. And some companies like restaurants, they have the loyalty programs, but you want to create the customer feedback loop so you always keep that data and understand what that looks like. And so for the retargeting, for the ones that have considered you and they're thinking about you, how do you stay top of mind? And that could be some of the same framework that you're using to retain them. So as I wrap up, I just want to get into just a quick review. Actually, one last thing, because this is what's really important, your team. When you're delegating out, and if again, y'all have any questions, let me know. But if you want to get to building your team, understand that you're going to have folks from the base of your spear to the top of the spear. You want to make sure your team can handle all of it and you work together well. One person that does not perform, you gotta let them go. You gotta let them go, because it's kind of back to why you're delegating. You can't do it all, because if that person doesn't perform, you have to pick up the weight, and that might not be an area expertise that you can do. Because again, if you are serving in that population that they're doing the work now, you're going to lose out on clients because the front part is now messed up. Yeah, that's becomes a headache, and I've been there, done that. So let me just get into my quick, how do you do this? Say if you want to do this in 30 days. First and foremost, audit your time, and you can do this in the first 3 days. Audit your time. Then in the next couple of days, day 4 through 7, create a standard operating procedure list to say, what do I do? And for tasks that I can delegate and tasks that I'm going to hold on to. You want to identify in the next couple of days after that, you want to identify the first thing you can delegate. And I'm going to tell you, as from personal experience, delegating is the hardest thing to do, because we as entrepreneurs, especially if it's our baby, we love to do these things. We love to get beep done, right? We like to check the box. And as you start delegating, this is hard. So make this task very small. It's repeatable. Pick a task from your list. Doesn't matter how small, but I know, or you can say how important it is. You need to start delegating it out. because as you start to do that, you start creating that system, and the next thing you do is create the communication system of where you can let things go, which part of the operations is what's the best way to communicate with your team. And we can get into that in another conversation, or if you bring me on to help you, we find out what's the best platform you can do that. And then as you get into like in the second week, now you are as, and that's why I said, oh, I'm sorry, let me back up. In the second week, you're establishing this communication system, but you're also setting up success metrics. And we can call that KPIs, whatever the case may be. But in the next week, in the third of say 21 to 30 days, I think I'm gonna put the days on there. So when you go to the article, you can see that you're now adding more complex tasks. And you're providing the feedback because you don't know how well you work with someone until you work with someone, and you can figure out whether or not y'all can vibe or something like that. Because as you're measuring the systems of things that needs to be done, and as you're communicating and you seeing how people get back to you and how when they don't get back to you, this is where it becomes a really big deal. So as I just circle back to the very top, as I say, we're going from a gig economy to the creator economy, and the creator economy is 250 billion, and in 9 years it's going to 1.5 trillion. There is going to be some opportunities to where you can get in there and figure out what that looks like. So with the economy checklist, excuse me, with the creator economy, creator checklist of what are the skills that you're going to need to do. So in week one, do a skill assessment to determine, can this platform work for you? Um, the build a portfolio, if on the platform, to see if that is going to work on your, like, and I mean that speaking like marketing language. Let me come to so like on these platforms, you can pin things. And when you pin them, this is where people can know what they're all about. And sometimes it's the most successful post that they've done. Put yourself out there to see what that looks like, and this is part of the checklist of when you start implementing it. You be able to, I would say, figure out what's going to work well, because again, as I said before, things aren't going to work, and that's okay. That's part of the journey. So don't set yourself up for failure thinking like you're going to crush it out the park. And again, I'll put this out by the end of today in the article. I don't see any questions, but then just to conclude, when you start to delegate, and this is key. Again, like I said, I'm not Gary Vee, I'm not Amy Porterfield, I'm not Neil Patel. Uh, because I don't have a team that big to delegate all these things, but I'm gonna build a team. And 3 years ago, I started hiring virtual assistants, and I realized how scary it was for me to let go of things that were super important to me. And I'm like, how are they going to get it done? I'm like, Nathan, you got to trust them. Just like you tell your clients to trust you, how do you trust them? And that's where I had to start building systems in place so I know if it didn't get done, I could catch them. And that's really hard to build systems that you never built before, because it's easy to take on a system. Like you can get I've bought Monday, Asana, Todoist, other platforms. And when you have to create the system to ensure that you don't get any like cracks, which there will be cracks, things will break. It's gonna suck initially, but once you start figuring out what works, you start delegating more. Like I said, when you are delegating, start small, and even in a small task, do an important one, see how they execute it. Then you can evaluate, okay, because part of that too is how did they communicate it was done? How did they communicate maybe something didn't work? And the last thing I even say on the communication part, sometimes what's really important for you when you hire someone is how do they give you feedback? How do they push back? Because pushing back, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, I'm a visionary leader too. I have a vision of how it should be, and I'm like, okay, it needs to. Whoops, my bad. It needs to look this way. If it's not this way, I'm not going to be happy with it. So I'm wanting them to tell me what it should look like, and if it can't look like, why can't it look like that? I'm like, okay, 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 okay. Again, when you delegate something small and that's important, and you hearing them out, you're like, oh, I didn't know that we couldn't do that. And I get that with my clients, and because we think, because we dealt with big companies and they've given it to us, but you don't know on the back end what they may have to break their back to get you that, right? It's like the creator economy. It's the same thing. And what I'm finding at the creator economy, which is really interesting, is that now they're building a business, and sometimes it's in this. What I'm seeing, these creators, they build this business where they're teaching classes, but then people don't get they don't fulfill the expectations. Now they got to give refunds. Well, that's part of building that operations, which is the SOPs, is a big deal. Whatever you pitch and promote, you're going to have to fulfill all the way through. And now that we have these things, you have to continue to do that, which is why in your funnel, and you create the content to where that loyalty is from day one and it never ends. And no matter what, because at one point in time, you could have a bad experience and say, kick rocks, I'm done. I don't care. No big deal. It's whatever. You can't do that nowadays. They will put a bad review on there, and especially on these platforms. Man, it goes to a whole nother level. And so I see one comment, Digital Coding Guru says, how I build an AI SEO agency. Love to put more out there on that. Give them your link. Tell them what that looks like. So when it comes to, at the end of the day, y'all, um, Deloitte research says, I'm put this. This is in the conclusion. The growth of the creator economy sprang from the gig economy. They're capitalizing on the economic opportunities of platform enabled work, right? Platform enabled work. Anything that can go on this device, not the computer device, which it can be, but this device is more powerful. Why? Because everybody can access it if they can pay the money for it. So if you have one of these, there's a platform that you can make money. So when they say that they're capitalizing on the economic opportunities of platform enabled work, it's also departed from the predecessor model by empowering creators with the creator individuality and agency. So that means if you have one of these things, you can make money. And I'll tell you, I am an entrepreneur because I'm unemployable, and I really try, y'all, but it's really hard to work a job. I'm an entrepreneur, so I want to empower people if they want to go that route to do that as well. It's so much harder to to be an entrepreneur and not have this, but it's so much easier to be an entrepreneur because you do have this. I started when I didn't have this. Now I'm like, you know how many opportunities are out there for you? And like I said, we're going from a 250 billion creator economy to 1.5 trillion. You're telling me you don't want just 1% of that, or 0.0001% of that money? I know I do. So I'm like, why not create? Why not put yourself out there? Right. But it all starts like, getting that attention, building those touch points, building your funnel, building that funnel to where people know, like, and trust you. And from there, you then start saying, I need to fulfill these people that said yes because I got them to know, like, and trust me. Now I need to hire people to help me continue to help develop these touch points, and we can have this continuous momentum and cycle to where anytime someone hears my name, it's going to be a great opportunity for me to continue to build my business and live the life that you want to live, which that's another conversation that I will end on. This life that I'm living is because I couldn't have done it by myself. So I'm grateful for all those people that have helped me, because without that, y'all, have been extremely difficult. So I'll tell you, if you are going to want to move in this direction, start, yes, own it and everything you're going to have to own, but start looking for help. And this is where I'm more than happy to help you. If you need help, make sure you DM me, put a message in. You can go to info@nwebsterllc.com, and I'll be more than happy to help you there. Go to the website, check it out. Until next time, I wish you nothing but the best. So dream big and Godspeed. I'm out.